There we go. How you doing, Bryant? We've got Bryant McFadden here. You guys remember him, of course, from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He joins us right now on FanCom TV. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm pretty good. It's midweek, of a NFL season that, what, let's be honest, I'm sure the NFL wishes this season could be over real quick. They just got a lot going on right now in the news, right?
Yes, a lot going on outside of the game. Of course, quite a few distractions have been a part of the NFL this season. We're not usually accustomed to seeing that. But me personally, I'm a guy that sticks in between the lines. It's all about the product on the football field, and I enjoy every week of the NFL.
See, this is what's so great about FanCom TV, because literally the fans right now get to talk to a guy that actually was on the field, can talk about what was in the locker room, and can talk about what happens, on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during the week. The news actually just came out about Ezekiel Elliott. What we thought when we woke up this morning is that Zeke wasn't going to be able to play against Kansas City. And apparently now a judge has said that he can play. You know what I'm saying? This is the true definition of week to week. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, literally, for me, it's like watching an episode of The Young and the Restless. It's like a soap opera. You don't think he's going to play, then he's going to play. You don't think he's going to play, he's going to play. It's back and forth, back and forth. I think most importantly for the Dallas Cowboys, they have to embrace this process, but also be dialed in the task at hand. Because I believe at that position, the running back position, they have more than enough depth, even if Ezekiel Elliott is not eligible to participate. But he is one of the best running backs in the game, so you have to really ride this thing out while you can. And many people have criticized Ezekiel and the Dallas Cowboys for just continuing to fight this process. But who are we to criticize or judge a man who believes he's innocent? I believe if he feels he's innocent, he should fight this to the end. We saw that with Tom Brady a year ago with the Deflategate, and of course he was he eventually had to
sit down, Brian.
He had to sit down. He had to sit down. But me personally,
along with Coach Belichick, or with his ownership, Robert Kraft trying to help him, but eventually he had to take the L. At what point does Ezekiel say, just let me take the L so that I can get back to playing full time?
At no point. If he's innocent, if he believes he's innocent, I mean, fight, right? Fight. And I think his teammates should support that. Because if this was any other teammate on that Dallas Cowboys roster, you would want your teammate to fight if they believe they're innocent. And the Cowboys, or as an organization, they have backed their player, and I respect that.
Yeah, Jerry Jones is really good at backing his players, especially a guy that takes up however much percentage of the offense as Ezekiel did last year. But you can speak to this. What's that locker room like right now? Because if, like I said, we come in on Friday morning, right, for meetings and for practice, you don't think Zeke is there. Does it mess up the chemistry of players within the locker room?
I don't think so, because Ezekiel is only one half of the team as being an offensive player. I think also, too, when you look at the experience they have at the running back position, Alfred Morris, a guy who's been to multiple Pro Bowls, rushed for over 1,000 yards multiple times in his career. Darren McFadden, he's an experienced player also. So they understand this situation. You know what? If my number is called, I'd be more than ready to go. But hey, they prepared like they would be the starter. Alfred Morris was announced that he would be the starter Wednesday. And now today
he don't know if he's coming. Is he going? Is he going to get traded? Is he going to be on the bench?
So now today he's been demoted to a backup player once again. So they understand this process. And, as teammates, they have to support Ezekiel. And so far they've been doing a pretty good job with that.
Well, you started it, supporting teammates. We got to go down to Houston, man. Let's stay in Texas and just go to Houston. Such a heartbreaking injury that happened yesterday to Deshaun Watson, man. And I don't care if you're boycotting the NFL. I don't care if you're a player, if you're watching. That was heartbreaking to see him tear his ACL when he's playing so well and was just named the offensive, player of the month hours before his injury.
Yeah, that's the cruel reality of the NFL, the uncontrollable. And even if you're not a Texans fan, if you're a fan of football, I believe you were rooting for Deshaun, because he was playing lights out. And I love seeing young players kind of take the lead by surprise early in their career. So I think most importantly for Houston, what's next? Because with Deshaun, I believe they were a playoff caliber team, either winning their division to get into the tournament or finding a way to get a wild card spot. Without Deshaun, especially with all the injuries they sustained on the defensive side, you know, it's going to be extremely difficult just to get in the playoffs with Tom Savage. Not talking about a wrestler. I'm talking about a quarterback, Tom Savage.
Is that what it is? Because I thought they had named, what's his name, Matt McGloin? I thought somebody else. He played under, he was at Penn State. He played under Bill Bryant.
They signed Matt McGloin as a backup, you know, just to have an insurance policy just in case something happens to Tom Savage. But he is a starting quarterback now. And from what we saw early in the year before Deshaun took over as the starter, Tom Savage did not look extremely well. And I think that the most devastating part about this injury was that offense was playing at a high level. Yeah. They were really scoring at a rapid pace. And now you have to expect some type of decline because clearly Savage and Watson, they're total different players.
Totally different players. And so then the question begs, wouldn't you want to then just plug in someone that can run an offense kind of like Deshaun?
Well, not necessarily, because it's extremely difficult. The thing about Tom Savage is that you don't have to change the entire offense. From the vocabulary, from the checks, from the hots, from the reads. He understands and he knows that offense. He actually knows the offense better than Deshaun because he's been there longer. But Deshaun is a better talent. See, if you brought a outsider in to be your starter, you have to change the dynamics of your offense, and that's almost impossible to do mid-season. You can't just change the offense for one player. So they understand, you know what, we will lose a little with Tom Savage. I'm sorry, we will lose a lot. But my other players surrounding Tom Savage, we need you guys to step up and go above and beyond what you're called to do to make it a little easier because he's not the same talent that Deshaun Watson is. So defensive players, we can't allow 30 plus points to opposing offenses. Offensive line, we gotta be consistent. We gotta open up running lanes for our running backs, and we gotta protect our passing.
That's true. I mean, I think that we've seen a lot of injuries, right? This season, Aaron Rodgers went down. I mean, you know, he literally is always a continual MVP, whether he actually wins it or Matt wins it or Tom wins it. But was this a case where the fans are saying, why didn't you even call Cap? I mean, we don't normally hear that, right? We heard it a little bit in Green Bay. We heard it a little bit early on. But it seemed like Texans fans literally were like, call Cap. He would actually be good in this situation. And, you know, it would even, I think, boost Mr. McNair's rating after his inmate comments. Why not call Cap?
Well, you know, the situation with that, it's about the bottom line. And we saw how the league was allegedly affected a few weeks ago when teams started to unite and take a knee. And they received a lot of backlash. And if you're that organization that signed the player that initially started all of this, you better believe your bottom line will be affected because so many fans are just not seeing the big picture here. And also, too, when you talk about the football implications of that, like I just stated, it's extremely difficult to bring an outsider in and try to force feed him that playbook instantly. We just saw Jimmy Garoppolo get traded to the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy is not playing Sunday, right? He's not. It's impossible to assign a guy or trade for a guy at the quarterback position where the playbook is extremely thick and expect for him to be able to execute that game plan precisely and still be successful and productive. That's not going to happen because we know San Francisco, they need quarterback help right now, but they're willing to weather the storm and say, Jimmy, you're not prepared. So we're not going to put you in line of fire.
How can Jimmy not be prepared? And he's been playing under Tom Brady in that Bill Belichick system forever. I mean,
but that's not the same system.
They never even wanted to trade him. We all know the story. Cleveland tried to get him in the offseason. They said this guy was untouchable, but then they almost kind of hand them away over to Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers.
I'm not saying he's not prepared from the physical attributes. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's not prepared to run San Francisco's offensive game plan. That's what I'm saying. Because if we know he's the best player, best quarterback on that roster, right? They got CJ Beathard as their starting quarterback, and he's really been CJ. Exactly. The rookie from Iowa. He's been struggling, but it's about making sure your quarterback is comfortable. It's almost like this, right? If you're accounting, right? If you're a CPA and I need a new shelf, right? But your background is working with CPA, working with numbers. I hire you to be my chef. I don't expect for you to come in and be able to prepare my meals like I like them because it's going to take time for you to get comfortable working in my kitchen. It's going to take time for you understanding the spices that I like to be used for my meals. And I don't expect for your best to be as soon as you get into my kitchen. It's going to be a process. So that's the same process with the NFL teams. Playbooks are extremely different. The verbiage is totally different. You'd have different responsibilities on different plays compared to what he ran in New England. So they understand that. So they're like, you know what? We're not going to play you because you're not ready. That could be the same situation if someone signed, if the Houston Texans signed Cap this past week when Deshaun went down yesterday. He can't play Sunday. He probably won't be prepared enough to play next week. It's a process because if one player is not comfortable with what's going on, the other 10 players are going to really be in a position to fail because that's the most important position.
Can we just talk about, and that's a good point. And so when you talk about the process, right, let's go and talk about Cleveland, right? So I love DeShone Kizer. I watched DeShone Kizer when he was at Notre Dame. I saw him at the Combine, and I thought this guy is so head smart. He's so smart. He, at some point, is going to be a good fit in a system. Is there just something wrong in Cleveland in general? Because I feel like whomever steps into that position, it's just a fail. I don't think it can come down on the quarterback's shoulders anymore. There's something wrong in Cleveland.
There is something wrong in Cleveland. They don't know how to run an organization. They believe in numbers. I mean, they have a baseball guy, an analytical guy, using numbers to revamp the roster. It's about watching tape. It's about getting to know the players that you would like to be a part of your organization. It's about establishing an identity. When you look at the Cleveland Browns, they don't have an identity. What is their identity? I think every successful organization has an identity. But when you transition to DeShone Kizer, we saw struggles a year ago at Notre Dame. He got benched, right? Yeah. He lost his job on the collegiate level. So we know this is a guy that has been a bit.
Let's be fair. He regained it. There were a few changes in that system. But the thought of, when people watched him work out, for combine and drills and all, they figured these are the strengths that we can work on. But then you plop him into a system where you say, they don't really know how to run an organization. How do you expect your team to succeed? And so now you haven't won.
I hear you backing him, but I played on the collegiate level. And if I got benched when I was supposed to be a draftable player, I'm doing something wrong. Right. I'm not. And now, if injury allowed that, that's one thing. But if bad production made me lose my job, clearly I'm inconsistent. So if you have been benched on the collegiate level, that's not the highest level. And we know when you look at college football, there are only one handful of players every Saturday between two top-tier teams that might be drafted, right? So you're not playing with a large field of quality pro prospects. But he was a bit inconsistent, and the same inconsistencies we saw at Notre Dame we're seeing now. And also, too, throughout the preseason training camp, I don't believe he actually won that job. I want to see young players earn the right?
And is that, Bryant, is that because Sashi and the team kept doing this trade-off? You play this down, you play this down.
Yeah, you can't get in a rhythm if you're always in the lineup, out the lineup, in the lineup, out the lineup, especially the quarterback. The quarterback is a rhythm position. You need more reps to get in the rhythm with the other players you're working with. Me personally, I believe Cody Kessler was the best player on that team based on what he did at the quarterback position, based on what he did a year ago. Did a lot with less. He dealt with concussions, and therefore he kind of was in and out of the lineup. But I felt Cody Kessler coming into this season probably was the best option at the quarterback position. But we know Deshaun was a hometown kid. He was a fan favorite. They forced him into action. He played pretty good week one. And then when teams started to game plan for him, that's where he started to have an issue. I believe when you look at the musical chairs they're playing at the quarterback position, if they're not careful, they're going to stunt DeShone Kizer's growth. We saw that with Blaine Gabbert in Jacksonville. When they continued to put him in action and he was not ready, he never could get over that hump. Some players need to watch. Some players need to watch.
Are you saying that it is the quarterback's fault?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, when you look at Deshaun, what Deshaun has, just throwing his stats off the top of my head, I think he has 3 touchdowns and 12 interceptions.
Yes.
That's not good.
And a lot
he's not ready. He's not ready. He's not. And
I think I agree with your initial point too, that it's a lot about the organization, right?
Yeah, Hugh Jackson has done a horrible job.
Yeah.
He's done a horrible job in policing that position. He's done a horrible job as far as just the organization. When you had an opportunity to trade for AJ McCarron. And oh, by the way, you wanted to give up a second and a third for AJ McCarron, a guy potentially that could be a pretty good quarterback. But we just saw Jimmy Garoppolo get moved for only 1 second rounder.
Right.
One second rounder. You were willing to offer a second and a third for AJ McCarron, and then you celebrated and did not send the paperwork in on time, and you missed the trade deadline. That organization.
Was that bad management, or was that purposeful?
That's bad.
Like, it literally was like 34 seconds after the time that it was supposed to be in, right?
First of all, everybody knows the trade deadline. Even if you're not a part of the organization, if you cover football, the NFL, you know what time the trade deadline is. Yes, what Cleveland, they're Central Time Zone, if I'm not mistaken. So clearly they knew when they needed to get everything signed, sealed, delivered. That's horrible. That organization is the laughing stock. They should be on Disney Junior because they're telling so many jokes right now. It's horrible. That's pathetic.
It is pathetic. They're on win-list time. That's what they're on. Okay, I know you got to run, but I do want to quickly get to a move that really shocked me, and I think a lot of people. What in the world was Miami thinking? Sending Ayaji to Philly. Literally, Philly, Carson Wentz, they got it. They had the NFC. But what was Miami doing?
There were two things that led to that trade. Number one, Adam Gase was not a fan favorite. Of a big fan of Ayaji. We saw that a year ago when he was inactive to start the season off. He had a bad game based on the response from Adam Gase, not calling his name, but saying, the running backs need to do what they need to do. Clearly he was talking about Ayaji. And then number two, they had some concerns about his knee injury that he sustained on the collegiate level that led to him being a 5th round pick. I don't like the move personally because the Miami Dolphins, they're still in the playoff hunt. They could potentially get into the playoffs, especially seeing what happened last night to Buffalo losing. So they still have a shot to get in. So I didn't understand that move, but it was a good move for Philly.
Yeah, Philly is doing well. And you look at their Carson Wentz, and all you can do is really just shake your head, right?
Yeah, right. Send them up.
And just say, you know what, this is what's happening. All right, so I just wanted to get your feel as to what was going on this week. Take us inside the locker room, especially down in Houston. By the way, what kind of pizza do you like?
I like Chicago-style pizza. I don't really like nothing else. I like Chicago-style pizza. I'm not a deep dish fan, though, but I can eat it every now and then.
It's so much going on in the league, man. Oh, by the way. All right, so Bryant, we'll try and catch up with you again. Where can we see you next? What are you working on?
You can catch me on Watch Stadium Monday through Friday. I do the NFL show Inside the League, also the college show Campus Insiders. I'm also on the Rally there, giving you some of the best football insight you potentially could receive from one individual like I did today. So I'm always on there. You can catch me on Twitter, also BMac_Sports TV, Instagram BMac_Stadium. I'm filled with a lot of football, as you can tell.
All of that, plus FanCom TV. That's what
exactly. Catch us on FanCom, and please shoot me your questions, fans, for anything you believe that I said wrong or you agree, you disagree. I would love to hear your rebuttals.
Does Cap get a job soon?
Probably not.
That was my question.
No, I don't think so.
All right, B.
All right.
Thank you, honey. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. Bye.
All right.